Hi! I'm Sylvia from Vintage Kitchen Vixen, where I share tips for simple living, creating memorable gatherings, and preparing wholesome and traditional recipes with a vintage twist. And today I'm going to be talking about how to survive hard times. So currently there's this little thing called the coronavirus that's spreading around and it has everybody in a panic. And the World Health Organization has said it's a global pandemic, so that's happening. And then a lot of people are panicking and people are scalping toilet paper. It's insane. Like, there's this thing called water. I don't know how much toilet paper a person needs. There are other things that you can do apart from clearing a shelf of toilet paper and preparing for hard times. I don't know how long this is going to last. I actually had a trip that I was planning to Mexico. It was going to be a nice little vacation, and that's canceled until further notice. While people are panicking and buying up all the toilet paper and who knows what else, I think it is very important to stock up on dried goods and essentials in case you are put into quarantine. I think self-sufficiency is a great way to combat the panic, because if you can take care of yourself, you don't have to panic with everybody else and run that stampede and possibly get trampled along the way. I don't know where I'm going with that. There are things that you can do so that you can avoid panicking, so that you can become more self-sufficient and maybe even up your survival skills in the process. So the first thing that you can do is build an at-home emergency kit. Now, I am getting this information from a survival manual that I have. It's the Ultimate Survival Manual, the Canadian edition, because Canada's different from other parts of the world. The first thing this book covers is assembling an at-home survival kit, because you never know when tough times are going to come, whether it's a power outage, whether it's some kind of natural disaster, or whether you're locked down because there's a pandemic. There are a few things that you should have on hand. One of them that's listed is toilet paper, but there are other things listed on here as well. So we're going to go through them super quickly. I do recommend that everybody has some kind of survival manual, because there are a lot of valuable things in here that you can learn, like how to stay alive at sea, how to start a fire in the snow, and how to turn snow into water, and how to build a snow cave. That's something that's relevant to Canada, definitely. How to be a modern caveman, how to stay safe in a cave, how to treat a snake bite. There's also things about how to set a snare, how to catch a fish with your shirt, how to dig a hole for a trap. So there are some basics in here that are good to know for survival, including some first aid scenarios. So some things that you should stock up on for your at-home survival kit are non-perishable foods. So dried goods are really good, like rice. I know people are buying rice. That's a good idea. Oats, barley. I have a lot of dried beans on hand. And then I think canned goods are also good because they last a long while. And if you have canned foods, make sure you have a manual can opener, because if the power does go out and you need to open a can of something so you can eat dinner, you're going to be out of luck if you have an electric can opener. You want to make sure you have a small stove with a propane source or some kind of other fuel so that you can cook for yourself. Make sure you do it outside. For example, I have a barbecue, and when my power was out a couple years ago for, I think it was a couple of days, we made breakfast on our barbecue outside, and it was great to have a hot meal. You want to make sure you have kitchen accessories, so I really hope you have things that you can cook with. If you don't, you're in trouble. Everybody should have their pots and pans and the utensils to go with it. So if you don't, please go out and buy these things, emergency or not. I mean, actually, if you don't have those things, you have an emergency in your kitchen. Make sure you have a 3-day supply of water, because each person should have 4 liters of water a day. Actually, they say 3.75, but we'll just round that up to 4 liters. But 4 liters for cooking, for drinking, and also, for hygiene reasons. Water purification tablets, I'm out of those, so should probably get some of those. Bleach to disinfect, and if you don't have the water purification tablets, you can use 16 drops per 3.75 liters to purify water. So if you don't have the water purification tablets, if you have bleach, you're okay. So make sure you have bleach. You want a portable battery powered radio or television and extra batteries. For example, a flashlight, and extra batteries for the flashlight, because what's the point of having a flashlight if the batteries go dead? Make sure you have a battery operated or a hand cranked or solar powered cell phone charger. Make sure you have basic tools like a wrench, a screwdriver, and a hammer that don't require electric power. A first aid kit and manual, but we're going to expand on that in a couple of minutes. If you have small children, make sure you have everything you need for them, like diapers and wet wipes and formula, signal mirror and a whistle, just in case you get into trouble and you need to capture somebody's attention. Make sure you have extra clothing for everybody, including a jacket, a coat, long pants, and long-sleeved shirt if you don't have clothes. I always say that takes higher precedence than if you don't have any kitchen supplies. Make sure you have clothes that'll help keep you warm, like hats and mittens, or anything that's climate specific. Sturdy hiking or athletic shoes and socks, because you never know when you need to run from a zombie or something. Make sure you have a sleeping bag or a warm blanket for everybody, because if the power is out and it's really cold, you want to make sure that you can stay warm at night, or just in general. Make sure you have special needs items, so any prescription medications that you need. If you wear glasses, make sure you have those on hand. Here are batteries for your hearing aid if you have hearing aids. If you wear contacts, make sure you have everything you need there. Make sure you have photocopies of any identification cards and credit cards. Cash and coins in small denominations, although people don't want to use any cash right now, and a lot of businesses are saying no cash. I think it's a good idea to have cash anyway. Plastic bags in various sizes, ground cloth or a tarp, and powdered chlorinated lime to treat waste and discourage insects. I don't have any of that. And strike anywhere matches in a waterproof container. So those are the basics for an at-home survival kit. And it's also a good idea to build yourself a grab-and-go bag that you keep in your car, and also at the office, just in case you need it. It might look a little bit weird and it might feel a little bit pointless if you have these things in your car and you never need them, but if the day that you do need them, you're going to be very happy that you're prepared. So, just a few things to keep on hand. Actually, did he say anything about toilet paper? Let me go back and read this. Toilet paper, essentials. Oh, sanitation and hygiene items. I missed one, such as soap, moist towelettes, toilet paper, and towels. So it's there. Second thing is a first aid kit. So everybody should have a first aid kit at home, and it's something that you should take inventory of maybe every quarter, just to make sure that you have everything you need. So every first aid kit should also have a little booklet on first aid, just in case you need it. It's never a bad idea to get certified in first aid, and if you don't have the means to do that, there are a lot of informational videos online that will teach you the basics of first aid. St. John's Ambulance, for example, they have videos on how to give CPR and how to save somebody from choking. So those are good things to know. Knowing how to save somebody's life and your own is a valuable skill. So make sure to brush up on your first aid skills. The third thing you can do is start growing your own food. So I am big on self-sufficiency. I do have a video that's all about the modern day victory garden that you should check out if you haven't already. So I'll include a link to that below. And basically the premise of that is that during the Second World War, citizens were encouraged to keep gardens for themselves so that they could supplement their rations and be able to provide food for themselves throughout the winter. So they learned how to preserve that food that they grew, and the food was also used to help feed the troops. And then after World War II came to an end, so did the promotion of victory gardens, and now a lot of people don't even know where their food comes from. So that's a huge problem. I think it's very important to know not only where your food comes from, but I think it's important for us to ground ourselves, to feel the earth, to connect with our food. So while people bought toilet paper, I bought seeds. I'm actually going to be starting some of my seedlings next week. There's a great book that I'm reading now called Gardening When It Counts by Steve Solomon, and he basically since the 70s, he has been tending to his own garden in preparation for hard times. And he's just like, you know what, there was the oil crisis in the 70s. Hard times are going to come again. I don't want to get too comfortable. And while everybody is getting fat and lazy, I'm going to keep a garden. And so this book is about how to grow food in hard times. So when you don't have access to everything that you need, or even if you're going through a financial hard time, there are ways that you can start gardening and growing your own food without breaking the bank, and also just using limited resources. So I think it's an excellent book. I'm learning a lot from it, and he has a wealth of knowledge. I highly recommend this book. I'm only 20 pages in, and I highly recommend it so far. In addition to growing your own food, if you can keep them, I think having a few chickens will also help you to become more self-sufficient. And I think the real survivors here are the people who know how to hunt for their own food, who know how to fish, who know how to trap. So I think that is an invaluable skill. I would be at a loss. I mean, I think my survival kit tells you how to trap animals, but I wouldn't even know where to begin if I had to skin something. That would make a fun video. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't know where to begin. I would be at a loss. So those are valuable skills, and if it's something that you're developing. I have a friend, actually, she went out and got her hunting license, I think it was last year, and she was vegan for the longest time, and then finally she's like, I want to hunt, I want to be outdoors, so she got herself a gun license, she got herself a rifle, and now she's filling my freezer with deer. And I think it's awesome that she learned how to do that for herself. So she has one up on me there. But that kind of goes into my next tip, which is to learn basic survival skills. So that's everything from capturing game, whether that's through hunting or trapping or fishing. I think building a fire is valuable. So that's something I can do at least. Girl Guides taught me something. Foraging is another one. There is a lot of wildlife that is around us, especially if you are in the country or somewhere that's more rural. So where I am, I'm like in a town that's kind of connected to a city. So my backyard is pretty safe to eat what I collect. So I have dandelions that I can forage for. I have garlic mustard, and I have violets. Actually, I have a video on violets, on what I do with them right up there, so I'll link that below. Foraging is an invaluable skill to be able to identify plants, what's edible, what's not. That's a big skill that we have lost knowledge of. People used to know one tree from another, and now if you live in the city, like, say most people don't know the difference between two trees, and I'm probably one of those people, but I'm slowly learning, and I have a lot of fun identifying plants and weeds and trying to figure out whether or not they're edible and what I can do with them if they are. To peg onto that, when you start learning how to identify plants and how to forage them, I think that kind of loops into herbalism a bit, knowing how to use herbs for homeopathy and natural remedies. So actually that survival book, it shows you how you can make yourself a natural aspirin from willow bark. So that's pretty cool. So if you have a willow tree and you're fresh out of aspirin, don't worry, you can make yourself a little painkiller. But there's a lot of knowledge and plant lore that we have lost, and maybe that's something you can get yourself a book on. If you want to rely less on pharmaceuticals, especially if we do go through hard times and we don't have access to those, you never know, it's good to have a backup plan. So even if you just have a book, it's a good way to get started. Anything that will help you build up on those survival skills, whatever that may be, is a good idea. So whether you go out and get yourself books that you can read and that you can learn from, or even watch videos on YouTube. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that specialize on how to survive, so maybe give some of them a watch. I don't have any that I can recommend you to, but maybe if you watch some of these survival YouTubers, you can link them below so that some of the other viewers can find them. And the last two things kind of tie together, and that's get to know your neighbors and learn how to barter. So when you're in the city, you're a lot less likely to know who your neighbors are. I have lived in apartment buildings where I had no idea who anybody was. Yes, say hi to familiar faces, but for the most part, just, you know, it was in a little bubble and I didn't want to talk to anybody. So here I know where I am now. I know my neighbors a lot better. I know my two next door neighbors. I know the two people that live across the street. So I have good camaraderie and good rapport with each other. Like my neighbor, like we help each other all the time. We pitched in to get our driveway shoveled this year. If I'm on vacation, he takes my garbage and blue bins out. And we share gardening tips with each other. It's really nice to have somebody that you can count on, somebody that you can rely on. and even share resources with. If I don't have a tool, I go over and he helps me. And if I bake too much for one of my videos, I go over and I give him baked goods to thank him. It's really good to have a network that you can rely on in your area, especially since a lot of us live far away from family, so it's good to have a little support network that's very close to home. And then bartering. Bartering is an ancient skill. It's something that we don't really do anymore. We don't haggle because we go into a store, there's a price, and most of us just pay it. And haggling is not something that is encouraged in North American culture unless you're at like a flea market or a yard sale or something where the price is negotiable. But for the most part, if a sticker says $11.99, you're going to pay $11.99, no questions asked. So in case, for example, I say it's important to have extra money on hand, maybe you don't have cash on hand, maybe cash is eliminated completely and everything becomes digital because cash is dirty. What are you going to do if you need to barter something, if you have something and you don't have cash on hand? So if you have something like, oh hey, maybe that's why people are stockpiling toilet paper, it's the new currency. If you have something valuable that you can trade, whether that's dried goods, whether that's extra batteries, whether that's skills, so maybe you can build something, maybe you can cut somebody's hair. If you have skills that you can exchange, oh hey, if you hunt, if you can skin somebody's kill, I'm sure they would be very appreciative of that. As long as you have something that you can barter, whether that's something that's tangible or that's a service that you can offer. That's why it's very important to build on our skills as well. So if you can garden, you have produce that you can offer. Oh, and in addition to gardening, you should know how to preserve your food, whether that's through canning, whether that's through freezing, whether that's through dehydrating and drying. That's also very valuable, and that will help you survive hard times. But that is all I have to say on that subject for now. I know there is a lot that can be done, a lot that we can do. So I'm very curious to hear from you. How are you preparing at home? What are you stocking up on? What measures are you taking to survive hard times, if any? Are there any tips that I missed out on? Are there any that you think I should have embellished on more? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, so please feel free to drop one. I always love hearing from you. And if you haven't already, I hope you like this video. I do put out 2 new videos a week. So I will be seeing you real soon. In the meantime, remember to wash your hands. Okay, that's it for me, for real. Bye! Because Canadians come across things like polar bears and, I don't know, other things. Tsunamis. Apparently we come across tsunamis.